In my early childhood, there were few things that I was as obsessed with as I was with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Sure, it started out as a joke and a parody of Daredevil comic books by two young artists, Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman, but back when they drew those original sketches, I don't think they ever could have predicted it turning into one of the biggest pop culture phenomenons of all time. After a very successful Saturday morning cartoon, a live-action movie was released in 1990. I was only 1 year old when it was released to theaters in March of that year, so I was too young to see it in its original run. My older brother and I sure wore the hell out of the VHS copy we had though. Fortunately, I finally got to see it on the big screen 30 years later in 2020. Growing up, I always gravitated more towards the sequel, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze, because it was campier and more lighthearted, but as an adult, I feel the original is technically a much better film. Sure, it was trashed by most critics when it originally came out, but I can't really blame those boomer film critics because I think they just couldn't wrap their heads around such a ridiculous concept as crime-fighting mutant ninja turtles. Although ridiculous, I still say to this day that the original 1990 live-action film is a classic that doesn't get nearly enough credit for how unique it was. I have also always been fascinated with the behind-the-scenes stories that went into the making of the film and how close they came to it never happening. So with all that, here is the 1990 movie, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: 10 Things You May Not Know. Number 10. Originally, the idea for a live-action movie came from producer Gary Proper. At the time, Proper was a road agent for the watermelon-smashing prop comic, Gallagher. Every major film studio in Hollywood turned the idea of the movie down though. This was before the 1989 Batman movie had been released, so studios weren't very high on taking a chance with comic book movies, especially after the failure of the George Lucas-produced 1986 movie, Howard the Duck. Eventually, Hong Kong movie studio Golden Harvest took the chance to make the movie. Golden Harvest was a natural fit for the film because it was the studio that produced many Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan kung fu films, which had a crossover appeal with pop culture in the United States. Number 9. About 10 days before the movie was set to start filming, the production only had about $3 million to work with, which was way short of what they needed to make the movie. Golden Harvest had agreed to back the movie, but they originally only agreed to contribute a few $1,000,000. There had been a deal on the table for 20th Century Fox to distribute the film, but that deal fell through when their head of distribution was replaced. The movie was about to be shut down until a smaller independent production company called New Line Cinema agreed to distribute the film and help by contributing $2 million, with Golden Harvest agreeing to make up the difference for the rest. At the time, New Line Cinema was mostly known for making B-movies and art house films. Their biggest franchise at the time was the Nightmare on Elm Street horror movies. Number 8. The dark tone of the film is mostly credited to director Steve Barron. At the time, Barron was an innovative music video director, having helmed the popular videos Billie Jean by Michael Jackson and Take On Me by the band a-ha. Early before production of the film, Barron had met with Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman, the creators of the Ninja Turtles, and went over the early issues of the comic books they had made, which a lot of plot elements in the movie were based on. Barron told Laird and Eastman that he wanted to make the movie a hybrid, mixing the comedic elements from the Saturday morning cartoon with the serious elements of their original comic book issues. Number 7. One of the early ideas floated around was that the film would follow a similar approach as the 1988 movie, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, in which the real actors would be interacting with animated versions of the Turtles. However, this idea was quickly scrapped in favor of real-life actors performing in turtle costumes created from Jim Henson's Creature Shop. Director Steve Barron had to convince Jim Henson to create the turtle costumes because Henson was hesitant at first due to the violent tone of the original Ninja Turtles comic books. Barron had a history with Henson directing music videos for the David Bowie songs, As the World Falls Down and Underground, both of which were featured in the Jim Henson 1986 movie, Labyrinth. Barron also directed episodes of Henson's The Storyteller TV series. Number 6. Jim Henson had said that the animatronic turtle costumes were the most advanced he had ever worked with up to that point. The costumes were first made out of fiberglass, and then they were remodeled with clay. They were then produced as molds to cast the whole body in foam rubber latex. The costumes were extremely hot and the animatronics in the heads kept malfunctioning, which made it very difficult for the stuntmen doubles to perform. In fact, one of the stuntmen actually broke his nose when the head caved in on his face during the Raphael and Casey Jones fight scene. If you look close, you can actually see the stuntman grab his nose after coming out of the trash can. Number 5. All 4 of the actors who wore the turtle costumes actually made cameos in the movie without the costumes. Michael Insisti, who performed as Michelangelo, plays the Domino's pizza delivery guy. Josh Pius, who performed as Raphael and also voiced the character, plays the passenger in the back of the cab that Raphael rolls over the hood of. Leif Tilden, who performed as Donatello, plays the masked Foot Clan member who delivers a message to April in the subway. And finally, David Foreman, who performed as Leonardo, plays a Foot Clan gang member in the warehouse during the Casey Jones fight with Tatsu. Number 4. Critically acclaimed actor Sam Rockwell actually makes an appearance in an early role as one of the teenagers in Shredder's Foot Clan gang. Rockwell was only about 21 years old, and it was only his 3rd feature-length movie role, having previously appeared in the 1989 controversial horror movie, Clown House, and also the 1989 film, Last Exit to Brooklyn. Number 3. April O'Neil was played by actress Judith Hogue. She was not all that familiar with the Ninja Turtles franchise and learned about it from an interesting source, legendary comedian and actor Robin Williams. He was a big comic book fan and showed Hogue his Ninja Turtles comic books to help her prepare for the role. At the time, they were both working on the 1990 movie, Cadillac Man, which was being filmed right before the Ninja Turtles production started. Later on, Hogue was surprised by Williams when he brought his kids to the Ninja Turtles movie premiere. Number 2. There's an important yet subtle character development that people may miss while watching the film. Early in the movie, Michelangelo avoids an emotional conversation with Donatello about their master Splinter someday not being around. Later in the movie, after Splinter had been kidnapped by Shredder, the Turtles communicate with him through powerful meditation. Afterwards, they are shaken up, especially Michelangelo, who you can see visibly crying, finally letting his emotions out about losing his master and father figure. Number 1. The film made over $200 million at the box office, becoming the 9th highest-grossing film of 1990. It became the most successful and highest-grossing box office independent film ever. It kept the title for highest-grossing independent film for nearly 10 years until the micro-budget 1999 horror film, The Blair Witch Project, was released and surpassed it. Well, that was 10 things you may not know about the 1990 movie, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If you liked this video and want to see more like it, go ahead and subscribe to the Dave Likes Movies channel right here. Thanks for watching, and if you have suggestions for future movies you want me to do future videos for, please comment below with your film recommendation.